Yasodhanandana Bhajananandana Yasodhanandana Bhajananandana Yamunatiravanachari 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 Jaya Radha Madhava Punya Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Kadamba Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Guru. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 3rd Canto, Chapter 23, Devahuti's Lamentation, Text 35. Bhartu purastadatmanam Stri sahasravritam tada. Correct? This is what you told me. Huh? $35, you opened it up here. Is it chapter 23, 35? Okay. Then we carry on. Bhartu purastaratmanam Stri sahasravritam tada Nisamyatat yoga gatim Sansayan pratyapajata Bhartu purastaratmanam Stri sahasravritam tada Nisamyatat yogagatim Sansayam pratyapajata Bhartu purastaratmanam Stri sahasravritam tada Nisamyatat yogagatim Sansayan pratyapajata. Ladies. Bhartu of her husband, Purastat in the presence, Atmana herself, Stri Sahasra by 1,000 maids, Vritam surrounded, Tada then, Nishamya seeing, Tat his, Yoga gatim yogic power, Sansayam pratyapajata she was amazed. Translation. She was amazed to find herself surrounded by 1,000 maids in the presence of her husband and to witness his yogic power. Purport. Devahuti saw everything miraculously done. Yet, when brought before her husband, she could understand that it was all due to his great yogic mystic power. She understood that nothing was impossible for a yogi like Kadamba Muni. Om Ajnana Timmanandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we see that through the process of yoga, it is possible to attain all kinds of siddhis, mystic perfections, supernatural powers. And Kadamba Muni was very accomplished in such yoga, and indeed was having many siddhis. And we see that what he was able to create was extraordinary. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is explained that various mystic perfections or mystic powers are arising from the different modes of material nature. So there are mystic perfections that come from the mode of ignorance, mystic perfections come from the mode of passion, and mystic perfections from the mode of goodness. And also mystic perfections from the pure transcendental platform. Although a devotee is not interested in any mystic power, in fact, a devotee sees the danger of mystic power. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there is a story about a man who is approached by an astrologer. And the astrologer explains, he said, actually, currently you are poor, but in reality you're not poor at all. You're actually very wealthy because your father left you a great treasure. But he wasn't able to tell you about it because he unexpectedly died. But let me give you some directions as to how you can find the treasure. And then he begins to explain. He said, if you dig to the south, there you will get great trouble because you will be stung by wasps and drones. If you dig to the west, don't do it, because there's a ghost there and you'll become haunted by that ghost. So we don't recommend you dig to the west. If you dig to the north, you have to be very careful, because in the north there is a big black snake, and that big black snake might just devour you. Big. So therefore, dig to the east. And if you dig to the east, you'll be successful. Then we get an explanation what it means. When digging to the south, in the south, now talking from India, in the south there's a lot of karmakanda activity. So all these karmakanda rituals, these Vedic rituals that bring us material benefit, that is just materialism. In the name of religion, we're performing rituals that are bringing us temporary material fruits. But actually all these fruits, even if we attain them, they will sting us like wasps and drones. Whatever we attain in this material world, I got a new car. It may be the cause of your death. Who knows? It's the material energy, and even if it's not, it will be the death of your finance. It will eat up your budget. So we get stung some way or other by the material gains that we get. So what is the point? Performing some ritual activity that will bring us material gain. Wasps and drones. Don't dig to the south. Don't pursue religious activities that will bring us material results. Leave them. Digging to the west. A ghost. What ghost is that? That is the ghost of impersonalism. Impersonalism. In the West, especially, impersonalism all the way. Prabhupada came to the Western world. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesa Sunyavadi Paschatade Zatarine. He came to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya, in particular, to drive out impersonalism and voidism. So that is interesting. In the West, Kirtanananda asked a question. He said, well, isn't it that in India there are many impersonalists, but here in the West maybe that's not so relevant. Maybe here it would be more relevant to preach against atheism. And Prabhupada said, you're saying that because you are an impersonalist. To what extent are we actually affected by impersonalism? To what extent are we actually able to really serve Krishna properly, like a person, and caring for his personal needs? But so many lifetimes being influenced by impersonalism, we are being distracted. We're being distracted from devotional service. Still not able to really be sensitive to the needs of the Lord. Govinda, the servant of Lord Chaitanya, he was so focused on the needs of the Lord didn't have to ask him. Govinda would just understand. A slight gesture, and immediately Govinda understood the desire of the Lord. And even when the Lord didn't express anything, Govinda saw the need and did the needful. And in this way he was a perfect servant. But due to impersonalism, we are not able to act in this way. Impersonalism is widely spread in the Western world. It is found in Christianity also. Saint John of the Cross was a famous mystic from Spain, or Meister Eckhart from Germany, right? And they were outright impersonalists, outright claiming they were God. And in modern times, Christianity has withdrawn on that position. Once upon a time, people thought there were angels on the clouds. But after the brothers Wright invented the first planes, and that myth was driven out, right? I mean, come on. You don't believe there are angels on the clouds, do you? Do you really? Come on. We never saw any. So in this way, modern science has moved all these ideas to mythology. And so it is said that is simply anthropomorphism. That is simply human beings projecting their human reality upon the spiritual reality. But actually, God is unlimited and formless. Mayavad philosophy. to be condemned, to be condemned. The all-pervading love. Then we get that idea about the all-pervading love, which is like a wet blanket, right? It's not something you can grasp. There is no personal interaction. So in this way, impersonalism is a dangerous philosophy which can haunt us like a ghost. Once we get into impersonalist philosophy, the mind may become captured by it. Because, why? What makes impersonalist philosophy so attractive? Why? Because Tattvam Asi, you are that too. You are also God. Now, isn't that what I always wanted to be? Jeez, look at that. What I always wanted to be. There you go. I always wanted to be greater than I am. And in the ultimate sense, what is better than being God? Therefore it is said, the Mayavadis, that is of course a false understanding, and the Mayavadis therefore, they are trying to get rid of all ego. That is their thing, trying to get rid of the individual ego and merge into the Supreme Lord. But actually they have the biggest ego, because they think they are God. So that is one pitfall. And finally we come to the north. The astrologer said, if you dig to the north, beware, beware, there is a big black snake. The big black snake of mystic perfection. And see these mystic perfections of Kadamba Muni. What if we could do all that? What if we could create a floating city with beautiful parks and all these? We might fly around forever. Would we ever be willing to serve Krishna? And say, well, yeah, I'll serve Krishna later. First I'll fly around a bit, right? For a few yugas, right? First I'll fly around for a few yugas and then I'll serve Krishna. So this is the danger, that these mystic perfections give us great opulence, great power over others. And so it is like a black snake, one becomes devoured by that mystic power. First the goal was the mystic power, but then instead of us having the mystic power and using the mystic power, we become obsessed by the mystic power. And the mystic power takes us over. And it takes over all our energy. And we just spend all our time just playing with the mystic power. Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, Sadananda Swami, he mentioned that in modern times we have already attained all the mystic perfections through technology. Here it is, my little machine has a few terabyte hard disk, has a powerful processor, and and then I have a very fast internet connection. And before I got this machine, well, what can I say, my glories were not recognized in the world, but now, just at the tap of a key, I am God. I am God. I am all over the internet. And I can just do anything, any moment. I can create. I can destroy and delete. Right? Oh yes. See my power. I will hack your site out of spite. Right? Just made a nice little virus. And so on. See my power. Yes, Ishwaroham aham bhogi. I am the controller, I am the Lord. So yes, the technology has increased our powers tremendously. Yes, yes. Yes, I'll just speak to him. Yes, hello Japan. Yeah, no, no, no. Oh, well, what does China think? No, China doesn't agree with Japan, right? And like this, suddenly we are in the center of the world, whereas previously we lived in a village, right? I had an experience that I went to Australia and I stayed on a farm, which was, you had to drive to a small town with 20,000 people. Then you had to drive another 30 kilometers. You came to a town with 100 people. Then you drive 80 kilometers over a dirt road, and then you were on our farm. So it was in the outback. It was really far away from the world. And we were there with about just less than 20 devotees. And these 20 devotees became the universe. That was it. We were cut off from the world. There was no internet, no communication, nothing, no news. And this was our universe. And if two devotees were having a few hot words, it was really like, the Cold War. It was like China, Russia, like America, all these superpowers, I mean, suddenly these devotees all became superpowers. And I began to realize I'm developing a village mentality. Little by little. I became a villager. Yes, started to think like all the way over the hill, right? All the way on the other side of the hill. Suddenly, my reality shrunk as I was there, away from this artificial modern concept of our powers. Yes, it's very interesting. Yes, in my car I can so quickly move. Now we are here in South Africa, lockdown, no flights. But we've been flying, right? Clocking up miles. I mean, just like, I'll go to such and such country, for 3 days, right? One Swami made the Guinness Book of Records for being the man who flew more than anyone else in the world, right? I know 14 Rath Yatras in 10 countries in 11 days. I heard about these things. And I have maybe tried to do a few of these things myself. I remember I did 2 Radhastamis, right? Like with a flight in between. 2 different Radhastami in 2 countries. Yes, these things are possible. I took advantage of the Vaishnav calendar, which, like, the Vaishnav calendar sometimes put Radhastami on one day in one country, it puts it on another day in another country. Yay. A flight in between, 2 Radhastamis. There you go. See my mystic power. See my abilities. Oh, I'm used to it. I'm like, after all, a 21st century man. Yes. I am a mystic yogi. Yes, I have all these mystic perfections. Oh, and what about that black snake? Oh, what about that? Is this phone, is it a snake actually? Touch your phone. Is it a snake? Is this phone actually a black snake which is devouring me? Is it actually eating up all my spiritual credits? Is this phone actually systematically destroying my spiritual life? How? And yes, you can measure how much time you've touched the screen. Maybe we should put something on our beats and to see how much time we've touched our beats. you think this week, more time touching beats or more time touching screen? A simple question, but maybe an important question. Maybe a question that would be of depth to us, to really contemplate that. What am I touching the most? The screen or the beats? And if so, then am I spiritually healthy? Or is that snake eating away at me? And so many other snakes are there. In the 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a description about the Visai. And it says, the Visai are sense objects, or to say it even more simple, things, right? Things. And the question that was asked by the sages was, how is it that the mind goes into the things and the things go into the mind? And then the mind is full of these things. My tape recorder, my phone, my iPad, my computer, my car, my everything, my glasses, my all the attributes. Sarvopadi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam risikena risikesa sevanam bhakti ruchyate. To give up all these identifications, right, with all the attributes that we have, with our intellectual glasses, with our fancy dress, right, with everything that we possess. Do we possess these things, or are these things possessing us? That is the question. Okay, nirbandha Krishna sambandha yukta vairagya uchate. Somehow or other, engage them in the service of Krishna. But I wasn't always sure about that. Like here in South Africa, there was a 4-wheel drive that had a plate for you, Krishna. And I was always wondering about that. Whenever I saw that plate, I thought, okay, it's easy to put a plate like that on the thing. But is it really like that? Without malice, without criticism of the devotee concerned. Rather, what if I would have that machine and I would put a plate for you, Krishna, on it? Would that do the job? Would that be enough? Not so easy to just overcome the power of the material energy. And especially when it's magnified power. As there is with mystic power and as there is with modern technology. Because it is a means to magnify our power. And here we are. Yeah. You know, I have a disciple who is older than me and living in the Netherlands, and he went. I'm from just after the war, and he went through the war, right? And that's the Second World War, and he's describing. He said after the Second World War, for like the first 10 years of my life, I only ate potatoes. That's what he said. Only potatoes. Right? Now this is in like the countryside in the Netherlands. Only potatoes. He said from like 1945 to 1955. Only potatoes. Yeah? It's like inconceivable now, right? Good morning, Majesty, and what would you like to have for breakfast this morning? Well, gosh, I don't know. Yes, lately we've been having these oranges from Spain, but I don't like the taste. I prefer the ones from New Zealand. They're sweeter. No problem, Your Majesty. I will no longer get these Spanish oranges. We'll get orange from New Zealand. That's the best quality. Definitely. Yes. So in this way, what else would you have? Well, a little, some some toast, yes, all right. But what kind of bread, I don't just take any bread, right? Gosh, I mean, what kind of grain? What kind of grain? Is it local grain or imported grain? I mean, really, right? So here we live, right? Here we live, even in lockdown. I mean, you could see people almost died at the idea of not having toilet paper, right? I mean, that became a thing, right? A thing, I mean, how many trees are sacrificed for that? Think about it, how many trees are flushed down every day, right? So that His Majesty, can be comfortable, right? Oh yes. So in this way, our artificial lives, we are looking here at the amazing miracles of Kadamba Muni. But what about the amazing miracles that we are experiencing every day, which is just our everyday reality? Huh? Everything. Factories are working for us. Oh yes. And don't worry, I know you worry. You can order it online now. You don't have to go out. It will be delivered to you, to your door. Whatever you wish. Yes. Anything. In fact, now we can get more than before. Before, looking for orange could be a trip. Now it's easy. Right? Just online, orange sweater. Okay, click. There it is, right? Orange socks, no problem anymore. At a click, we have everything in the world. And yes, we can engage it. We can engage it in the service of the Lord. Yukta Vairagya. We can engage all these products of the material society in the service of the Lord. Prabhupada describes factories in his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam first canto as the dungeons of the demons. That was interesting. The dungeons of the demons. And he describes all these activities of creating more and more machines as ugra karma, horrible work meant to destroy the world. And this is it. Good morning. Did you have your ugra breakfast yet? Right? Oh yes, everything is ugra. Everything is sprayed. Everything is modified. Everything is genetically engineered. Everything, tomatoes with scorpion genes, the big potatoes, the big ones. There's extra large potatoes. Guess which genes? I'm sure you'll guess. Pig genes. Makes sense. And in this, I'm a vegetarian. What about that? What are we gonna do? It's intense. And so, man has become consumed by the world he lives in. And as a result, forgotten the goal of life. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was sometimes accused for destroying spiritual life. Behind his back, some Babajis were saying, what kind of follower of the Goswamis is he? Goswamis lived under a tree. Just simple. Sanatana Goswami got a cloth, old dhoti, tore it in 4 pieces. A little dhoti, little chadar, 2 sets, that was it. Simple living. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta drove around in a car, wearing sewn cloth, an overcoat with buttons. Yes. And in this way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur built a bridge from tradition to modernity. And here we are now. Now we practice Krishna consciousness in the modern world, and no problem, we have it all. Watchy, watch it. It's watching me too. Heartbeat is okay right now, not too bad. Pressure is a bit up. Maybe I should calm down and speak a little slower. In this way, constantly our life is interwoven with all these things. Yukta Vairagya. But to what extent? To what extent is this Kali's way? We think, yes, we use these things to spread Krishna consciousness. And to what extent is this Kali's way to infiltrate this movement and to undermine our spiritual strength? I'm just asking the question. I won't answer it. But just, I thought, instead of you asking the questions, I thought, maybe I should ask one. And leave you with that and see if there are any comments or any questions. Yeah, Ram, our local IT man is the first one.
It's actually an IT question. Thank you, Maharaj, for relating this mystic yoga, impersonalism, to the things that we have and we experience every day. One thing that keeps bugging me personally is that I am a systems person, IT person, process person, and whenever I do anything, even in my service, I try to introduce systems and processes which are impersonal, essentially. They are generally impersonal. Whenever you adopt these things from the outside world, they come with a large dose of impersonalism also. And I'm using it, and in general in ISKCON we do these things also, strategies and systems and processes. So that's another question to add to your question: how safe are we with doing these things, and how much in line are we with this type of endeavor?
Yeah, you're highlighting an interesting point. How the technology changes the way administration works. We see in Vedic culture, we see there's a king, a personality, someone you can approach, someone you can talk to. The citizens could go and meet the king. The king would be in front at the time of a war or a crisis. The king would be there, would be a face, would be an individual, and you could... there was a law, right? It's like... The Manu Samhita is very interesting, because in terms of a system of law, in the Western system of law, there is an image of a lady who is blindfolded and she's holding scales, right? That is the Greek model of law. And it says the law is blind, officially, right? The law is blind and therefore equal for all, officially. All right. And Vedic law, the Manu Samhita, is very different. First of all, law is different for various varnas. They have a different law. And the second thing is, in the Western system of law, the Greek system of law, even the government is bound by the law. But in the Vedic system, the government is above the law. They use the law because otherwise you have to, each time you need a policy, you have to reinvent the wheel. But the leadership was able to be above the law and to make an individual adjustment for an individual person. You know, as soon as you come to law, there is this thing from what is good for the goose is good for the gander kind of thing. From, he got it, so then I should also get it. Then I also have the right to get it. No, not in the Vedic system of law. No, he got it because the king decided that he should get it. It's the king has that right to make individual decisions, and the king will give a village to him, and the king will not give a village to me, right? And what can I do? Right? I cannot go, I have my rat for my village. Huh? Zindabad, Zindabad. Protesting. No, Vedic culture is not communism. The spiritual culture depends on personal leadership. So systems are fine. The Manu Samhita is an intricate system. If you study the Manu Samhita, you'd have a field day as a systems man, say, wow, this is a great book. I love it. Right? You'd like it because it's very systematic. So it's not that there were no systems, but the thing is there must be leadership above the system that can make the individual adjustment where it is. Someone you can talk to. That's a society. At least that's the traditional society. And that's a society that creates, that's then based on trust. Trust in the king. The king is a saintly person. The leader is a saintly person. And therefore, yes, we'll accept his decisions. But if there's no more any leader with any character, right? Nowadays everything is online and you can't even talk to someone anymore, right? You call the number, there is still a contact number, that's going to disappear. But even then, press 1, press 2, music forever, and then finally, you get an automated answer, right? And if you finally do get a person, then they say, well, sorry, sir, but, we are not making the policies, so there's nothing we can do, it's the policy. Well, who can I talk to about the policy? Also, unfortunately, that we cannot disclose, that's confidential, that's confidential. Sometimes there's a committee decision, and you feel like unhappy about it, and you want to speak, and they say like, well, I go to the committee, and then one committee member says, well, I sympathize with your feelings because I also felt like that, but the committee decided. The committee decided. They say, well, okay, but then who in the committee? Sorry, but that's confidential. That cannot be disclosed. We are unfortunately bound by confidentialism. Now, I appreciate that being confidential is necessary. I understand that, and that it's very dangerous when you are pointing, we as a committee all sympathize with you, but that one was the one who was against your idea, he may get a visitor at home, right? So we don't want to create that either. But if we deal just with committees and systems, and there's no more person to speak to, then the individual members of an institution feel they're out in the cold. They don't feel they're heard. and it breaks down faith. It's ultimately not possible to just put your faith into a system, your faith into an institution, if it's not carried by personalities. Right? It really has to have a faith, it has to have a character, it has to have saintliness for a spiritual movement to work. Therefore systems are good, but saintliness has to be there along with these systems. Otherwise, we're not going to follow your systems. Otherwise, why would we follow them? We're volunteers after all. Or in your face, we'll follow them. But when your cameras are not watching us, then when the cat's away, the mice will play. Anyway, those are some thoughts I have on these things. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you. Maharaj, I don't know Sankaracharya, what was his reasons for spreading impersonalism when he was asked by the Lord, in the sense that he is Lord Shiva, so
Okay.
like that he was meant to spread impersonalism.
Right. There's an answer to that. There's an answer to that in the Padma Purana.
Can I finish?
Yeah, but if you make it too long, I cannot remember.
Oh, okay.
And if you ask two questions in one, which some people do, then you get no answer. Because I can't remember. The point is this. The Padma Purana says it very clearly. When people were misusing Vedic sacrifices for slaughtering animals in an improper way, then Buddha came and started to say, preach ahimsa, and said, follow me, don't follow the Vedas. Then Sankaracharya came, taught a philosophy very close to Buddhism, but brought people back to the Vedic authority. And in this way, it was an arrangement of the Supreme Lord to bring people temporarily away from the Vedas so that they would stop animal killing in the name of the Vedas. And Sankaracharya brought them back to the Vedas. Then Ramanuja Madhvacharya brought them back to Vaishnavism. And finally Chaitanya Mahaprabhu brings them to the full understanding of the Vedic scriptures. Carry on.
Yeah, so for instance, nowadays we see, like Prabhupada went to the West to preach personalism and, the faith that the Lord is a person. And now we see there's another one rising. You see Sadhguru coming in, and he's being, he's becoming popular, and he's talking about, that God is intelligence and all that, and that intelligence, you can't really define it. Anything can sprout out of intelligence, and therefore you have this sea of new academic students basically are embracing this concept. And now my question is, where is us in the picture? Like, we see that he's dominating the social media, basically, preaching this concept that God is basically, we are all God and God is intelligence, and therefore if you are intelligent enough, then you are God. And now my question is, where is ISKCON in this, in terms of, like, for instance, you speak of how far are we going to go with using technological gadgets and basically spreading Krishna consciousness. So now my question is, how are we going to use these platforms to kind of like challenge these impersonalists? Because now we see the youth is taking to technology very seriously. It's their life, and if they are on social media getting all these, Sadhgurus, manipulating their minds, then can't we use these things, really to take them on like that? And also one more.
Oh, no, not one more. Don't do 2 questions in one. I can't handle it. I'm not so smart. I can do only one. So, there have always been such personalities, like Mayavadi preachers. And of course, they are now also on the internet. And so are we. And we can do better in our internet presentation. That we can do. There's another thing though, is that ultimately, the power of the absolute truth is so great, right, that it cannot be destroyed by such Mayavadi preachers. That we have to understand. So it's like when the elephants are moving in a caravan and the dogs are barking, the elephants are just moving. So in that sense, we don't have to be totally alarmed. There is a certain personality out on the internet preaching so much, and oh my God, this is very serious. No, whatever he says goes only skin deep. It cannot really touch people that deep, right? Therefore we see that the words of the pure devotee, they're penetrating deep. So our answer is really, let us profusely distribute Prabhupada's books. We preach on the internet, but the internet is such a thing. It's the virtual reality. Today it's there and tomorrow it's gone. You even put data on the internet, and Ram Vijay can confirm it, that the systems are always, the IT systems are always updating, and data are getting outdated. And at one point, the old data are in a format that the new software can no longer read it. And then this data is just lost forever. And it's just like too much trouble. Maybe in a very expensive process, it can still be made available, but how can, so here we are, we're putting all this data on the internet, and it's dated. It's dated. So the internet can be used, but it's not that the internet is the repository for everything. Books are still much better. There's still more, something that stays, even the day when the plug is pulled, right? When the internet collapses or becomes too expensive, right? Or only available to governments, right? And no longer to the general public, or only for announcements and only to control them, to monitor them and spy on them, as more and more cameras are being installed everywhere. So, the internet is a platform, but to distribute books is still more solid. And that came from our acharyas, and we should keep that in mind. Let's put these books out there into the world. And then we'll do something on the internet. Yes. Thank you very much. We have to go. I also have to go. Thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada. Ki Jai. We